It's funny that even in a conversation about trying to drag a player out of you, you're not into it. Like, all right, but if you could have your dream game, what would it be? I don't have one. I don't dream of this. That's not who I am. I'm the dungeon master. Welcome to Take the Damage podcast by Unfortunate Ones. Sorry, I just realized the comedy of like the anticipation of Nick's maybe coming. I set this all up away from me, and now he's not even going to make it to the recording. And for no reason, I'm like running back and forth to where he normally sits. Anyways, so we have talked about multiple times, multiple things. We've talked about on the off chance when someone like Nick's or you or me isn't able to attend and it becomes a two-person recording, instead of doing a Take the Damage podcast, unless we want to and we have something that we specifically want to talk about, doing a solo adventure, a one-shot or mini adventure, a solo. And we've also talked about having sit-downs of kind of communicating with each other what kind of stories we'd want to be in. Because oftentimes what happens, and it makes sense that this happens, and this is mostly how D&D, in my opinion, should run, is like, the person who needs to be the most inspired is the GM in order to keep everything going and have the motivation to write everything. So the GM has an idea of something that they want to do or they want to try, and that ends up being what the players fit into. And of course, they get incorporated and, the DM hears them out and what they want to, their involvement and everything like that. But it's very GM directed, which makes sense. But I know you've had it with your players recently where you've tried reaching out to them in that same way of like, hey, what do you guys want to do? Where do you want to be? What timeline do we want to be in? What world do we want to play in? What kind of characters? What kind of story? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and I got a thumbs up and crickets.
Yeah. So I thought we could use today as an opportunity to have that discussion for each other and for the absentee today, Nyx, which would be if you were my DM for a solo adventure, what kind of adventure I would want it to be like. Knowing you as a DM and what you're capable of and what your highlights and strengths and whatnot are, and then what I want out of it, being the base of what you run for me, and vice versa. And then a conversation about what we would want as a pairing for running an adventure with Nyx as the DM. Unfortunately, he can't be a part of that conversation, but the idea is spawned from not what the DM wants anyways, right? So it doesn't really need to. I would love to have one of these conversations either on or off the record with Nyx as well at some point, but for now. So yeah, like I would ask before we get into like actually trying to sculpt anything, is there anything? So one of the conversations that we've had is the unfortunate thing of like, so we don't have the forever DM at our home table because we're all DMs here or GMs and in multiple systems. All of us know multiple systems. All of us are very comfortable GMing. We don't have the whole forever GM thing, but I did bring up the problem that we do run into, which is we have such different styles, and that's to be expected. But like your style oftentimes has to do with like a very well-breathing world and plenty of intrigue that often leads the players to getting lost, and then a mystery where you don't give anything to the players beyond the, scope of the mystery. And then they flounder until they finally figure something out. And that's like a very, in my mind, if I were to like kind of paint you into a nutshell, there's definitely more to it. It's like a very gray thing to do. You know what I mean? Whereas like mine is completely different. Mine tend to be, I mean, I do some mystery stuff, but also mine tend to be like just really deep RP and long-lasting moments and getting into the emotions of shit and relatively serious, sometimes gritty, sometimes really dark tales. I've said it multiple times, my favorite genre is hopelessness. And those are very different things. And of course they are. We're very different people. But I never get to play in those super deep RP things that I love. Clearly I love them because I write them. And you never get to play inside of a mystery where you're just fucking lost the whole time. Because that's how you write things. That's not how other people write things. I used to have a dream when we were playing G&G of the different characters I wanted to bring into the campaign as a player character until I realized how much of a fucking fantasy that was because I'm never going to get to play because I'm the GM for G&G. So, like, I can't bring it. I'll never bring in the character. I'm never going to get that luxury. So I would ask, is there... And it could be as granular as like a specific character that you've wanted to play. Or it could be as, more general of like a type of story or a genre or a game system or any of those things. Like as an example, you've ran Delta Green with us multiple times. Maybe Delta Green is something that you would want one of us to do. Has there been things that you have thought of that you would like to see us do? Or a styling that you'd like to see us do that you want to participate in from the other side of the screen?
No.
I knew it was going to be me talking for 5 minutes to build up to you saying no.
I'm not a player. I'm a GM. I'm a GM at heart.
I know you are.
It's not necessarily like the games I run aren't necessarily the games that I like to play. I do like the deep RP, like G&G.
Mm-hmm.
That was my shit.
Okay,
that was fine. That was fantastic. I do like mystery in a sense, just because there's like an unclear objective, but you know what you're trying to look for, what you're trying to look out for.
Generally, what you're looking for.
I like. I'm more of a fan of like cityscape stuff as opposed to always being out in the wilds or in dungeons. We hate dungeons here. Well, the two of us.
Do we really? I've ran one dungeon in my time, and I ran it wrong intentionally.
But anything that allows for more role play. I mean, combat's fun too. I do like combat, but like where there's always an avenue for role play of some sort.
Yeah. Well, so like Delta Green, when you run Delta Green and we talk about those grand mysteries, it's 99% roleplay. Delta Green, like G&G, is one of those systems where you almost don't want to be in combat.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's inevitable and that's how it's going to end eventually, you kind of want all of the information possible. I mean, there's also the thing that hangs over you in Delta Green, which is like, if you just go into combat, you might be killing the wrong person. And so, like, you know what I mean? So, like, or you might be entirely outclassed, like,
or you miss something very important. And when you decide maybe I shouldn't go into combat here, you should have. And now you're leaving and something bad has happened.
Yeah. There's just a lot of unknown to Delta Green. I mean, it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like when you run Delta Green, it also has that like, I mean, it seems to depend on the group that you play with, obviously, or the people that you play with, or when it comes to me and Nick's, I guess the day that you play with us on, because sometimes we take it very seriously, and sometimes we're laughing the whole time. So, like, oftentimes when I talk about like deep RP, what I actually mean is like serious RP, but also that like constant RP. So like instead of just saying deep RP and being misunderstood, there's serious RP and then there's constant RP. And your games are always constant RP. Like there's so much mystery and figuring things out. Do you think like that's kind of more what you would want to play as well? Or is that something that like you like pushing on to others but not necessarily exactly what you want as a player?
It's not necessarily exactly what I want as a player. It's just I find it interesting as a DM to me it feels more correct, should I say. Like, if you go to a place you don't have much information, it's not a world of information, you don't really know what you're looking for exactly, but you have ideas of how to get there. I feel like it just makes more sense in the worlds that I play. As opposed to, like, if I were to play in a more modern world, then maybe things wouldn't be so hidden, I guess you could say.
Sure.
So, like, I mean, outside of Delta Green, of course, because Delta Green's supposed to be everything's hidden.
Yeah.
But, like, say if we were playing Delta Green in the current age, and you're trying to find, XYZ person, you don't have to go and hope that this town has phone books. You could just look them up on XYZ social media.
Yeah, of course. There is a lot of it being an era piece with Delta Green in that you really have to scrape your brain on how to resolve a thing,
Mm-hmm.
I have a big, it's not horror, but I have a big city mystery in my Friday game, and they're asking me, like, above table, they were asking me for clarification. And the funny thing is like, I don't have clarification. What they were asking for clarification on is they were like, hey, we know that the bad guy is here and that they're up to no good. Can't we just go get the local law? And I'm like, yeah, but the bad guy's a reputable noble. You're going to need some pretty hard evidence before a guard captain's going to stick their neck out and accuse and arrest and raid the home of a noble in this medieval city. You know what I mean? Like, you got to think of how hierarchies work here and how truly nothing even a guard captain is in comparison to, like, true nobility. You know what I mean?
Uh-uh.
And they were like, yeah, but in a time without forensics and cell phones or cameras, what hard evidence could we bring the guard? And I was like, well, honestly, I don't have an answer for you, but yes, that is the exact right way that you should be framing the question to your fucking self. There's not great evidence. This is a time where a lot of what happens is based off of word of mouth and reputation, and you have neither. Maybe going to the guard isn't the answer, because you can't have the evidence that would be required because of the era. Or maybe you need to think outside the box on how to get it, which is what they ended up doing. So, like, one of the issues is that there was someone that was, like, kidnapped and imprisoned. And they were like, how do we get the guard to free that person? And I was like, well, even with that person free, the bad guys are still bad guys, right? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, well, maybe you're trying to get the guard too early. You know what would be hard evidence? The kidnapping victim. Get the kidnapping victim out. Now you have very hard evidence. Especially for who it is.
Actually, now that I think about it, I guess when I run my game, I do like it when the world feels correct. Like, when things react in a way that you would expect them to react, and it's not like, oh, this is happening because of a role.
Or definitely.
No, this is happening because the DM said so. It's like, oh yeah, I did a thing, and now this is the consequence of that thing. So, like, when you're playing 2E, and say you guys went to Alacra, and there was a lot of roleplay. Like, there was like two, 3 combats that entire game.
Yeah, I think 3.
Yeah, once against the Harden Boys, once against...
Oh, yeah, I forgot about the Harden Boys. 3. Yeah.
Harden Boys, a singular creature, and a group of creatures.
And then technically, the final battle was also 4.
There's a final battle.
Yeah, there was a we entangled. It was like the bandits.
No, that was an execution.
So was the Harden Boys. In the exact same way.
I mean, someone got shot at least by the Harden Boys. That was an execution. Anyway,
actually, we lost an NPC party member.
That was into the monsters.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
I thought it was to the bandits.
No,
you're right. It was the group of monsters.
Yeah. So yeah, I like it when things react reasonably, or like understandably, or consistently, or in a way that you would expect them to act. So, like, if you were to mess with a gang that was like, they're very aggressive, they don't take dishonor, and you're to mess with them, they'd be coming looking for you. So it would no longer be a constant roleplay game. It'd be a constant combat game because you're in their town.
Yeah, because you fucked up.
And they want you dead.
That is exactly how my Friday game works. There's also a degree talking about things being grounded and working the way that you would expect them to work. Also, there's something that I love so much, and this happened a lot in when we played Guns and Gangs, was when the party really, really does a good job thoroughly thinking out a plan and doing their homework. That takes a long time to do. But players often forget the things that they've done and just live in the moment, right? So sometimes you guys would get into situations, and this happened recently again in that same Friday game. This happened recently where like they did all of this planning and they did all of this homework, and then they finally went to execute the plan, and it just worked. It was easy. And there was a level of them being like, oh, I don't know why we were so worried about that. It was so easy. And it was like, no. It was easy because you were so worried about that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you did. I like when players happen to be right and genuinely do all of their research in game, in deep RP, and these long moments, and then win. I think as a DM, for me, that is very satisfying because it's like, yeah, you took things very seriously. You thought about every avenue, and you nailed it. I'm not going to just make it hard because D&D is supposed to be challenging. Like, nah, you nailed it. Congratulations.
Yeah, I think that's like the main thing. Like, if I were to want to be a player in a game, it'd be things like that. You know, it's things are grounded. They play in expected ways. There's no funny business half the time, or you go to a place and this guy's just gonna kill you because I said so, or you know, if
You
I
guys
just
have
go
had too
say-
easy of a time. Here's an enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loading screens too.
I have found myself shift away from loading screens as a player, this is before I even started as a DM. And then I've found myself in super deep RP games and shift entirely back to them, where it's like, the journey's the important thing sometimes. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So like, think about how long in your campaign, imagine we didn't fuck up, but how long it took us to traverse the desert and whatnot. Like, all of that was interesting to me. It felt like living in the world. It felt like travel actually mattered in places that were supposed to be dangerous. They were. And yeah, it took a couple of sessions. Yeah, you can consider that loading screens. And you don't want to do that all the time. Sometimes you want travel to just be travel. And you kind of just want to glimpse through it. And my go-to is like, I always just play through the first night. If I know it's going to be an easy travel, play through the first night, have camp moments, blah, 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 and then do your time skips. Just so it feels like you've done something. Also, short encounters. So like you do that first night, and then you get like halfway through the journey, and you have a short, 15, 30 minute, whatever, short encounter. I don't mean combat, but just short encounter. Your players notice something. There's a moment. It doesn't even have to be something interactable. Like you're along the road and you see the ruins of a shrine of a fallen god that you as a historian don't know the name of. And they can look at it and do investigation, and maybe they get a little bit more information of like, oh, it appears to be a female elven goddess. Her clothes seem to be tattered, not because this is ruins, but that is how it was carved. And there's an inscription in Elven at the bottom, and you don't speak Elven, but it clearly says something. And your players go, oh, that's really interesting. Are you guys doing anything? No, I think we'll just camp for tonight. Okay. And you camp, and you have 2 more days of travel, and but it felt like a journey. There's like moments that make it feel like a journey.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But yeah, no loading screens and no barriers to make things feel more interesting. Like, unless you as a DM have a reason, like, hey, don't go through the mountain pass. The mountain pass is dangerous. And then your players go through the mountain pass, and it's like, oh, well, I need to make this dangerous because you said it canonically. But if it's just like, if there's like a heist and they nail every roll and they get in and out and they steal the object, don't for no reason have them with no roll run into a bad guy and now the alarm's set because they did it too well. It's like, no, they did it. Move on in the story. What's the next chapter? Don't just put up barriers. Okay, so what I'm gathering would be a level of mystery. A level of needing to RP your way through it. And things feeling grounded and like they're reacting properly for the world the GM described.
Mm-hmm.
Being general concepts and cityscapes.
Mm-hmm.
Or townscapes, I imagine would be fine too. Yeah. Cities or towns.
Population centers.
Yeah. Not wilds necessarily. Wilds are fine, but...
Yeah, going there every once in a while.
Yeah, you adventure into the wilds. You live in the city.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. I could get behind that. I think that's actually pretty close to what I would want too. Not necessarily the mystery part. I do like mystery, but I think less so the aimless mystery for me and like having to figure it all out. I like more the like the role play mystery. I think investigations I really like, where it's not a physical puzzle, it's not a challenge based puzzle. It's just you don't know what's happening. You have to role play with people and learn what's happening. Once you learn what's happening, even if you don't roll anything, you slowly have the puzzle pieces filling in, and then you know what to go and do. And typically the go and do might be a combat or a stealth mission, a heist or something like that. You know, some culmination of the story. But yeah, I think not necessarily grand mystery. I enjoy that with Delta Green, but like I think I preference wise would go a little bit lighter on, because like so many times when we played Delta Green, I definitely suit it better than Nyx does. But a little less floundering would be nice. Like I like a degree of rewarding players, and therefore would want this in reverse. Rewarding players for just doing homework, whether they do the homework well or not. Like you go to a place and you get something there. You go to this place and you get something there. And it doesn't feel like you're just aimlessly running around, or like, you know, if you go to a bar and the DM has a reason that they can think of why this bartender does have some information, something to grasp onto, rather than you go to a bar, RP for 30 minutes and realize that you shouldn't have been here in the first place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I like the continuous progression of a mystery rather than the floundering in a mystery, but I do like a mystery. I do like the deep RP. I actually felt perfectly comfortable in a really guided story as well. Like the one that Nyx ran, there were so many moments for me and you to have deep RP. We were relatively on tracks. At one point we were on tracks, but
literal.
But there were plenty of moments that me and you had for RP. So like I still had fun with this story. I think the biggest thing for me as a player is being able to get into a character, if that makes sense. I think the other thing that's been racking around my brain of something that I would want from a story would be a level of not being a deity. And this is an important distinction. I'm imagining like maybe a level 4 character in 5e or whatever system, the equivalent of that. But in a world where that is genuinely superior. Like I want to be a hero, but I want to be a hero, not hero, but I want to be someone of prowess beyond most people, but at level 4. You know what I mean? Like I want it to be like, and at level 4, there's a lot of room to fuck up, even with that level of prowess. You know what I mean? You have a guard or a knight or something like that. Yeah, you win. You have 3 or 4 of them. That's a pretty hard fight for a level 4 character. It's not impossible. Like a level 4 marshal, at least. It's not impossible, but like you don't have a second attack.
That second attack changes a lot.
It changes so much. That's why I said 4.
Yeah.
It changes so much.
That's why he almost died to the barbarian on the train.
Yeah. Yeah. It really fucks things up. Also like a level of like station. I really, really wanted to. We didn't spend enough time in Nix's world. There was a moment. I said it out loud. I don't know if I said it on recording, but there was a moment like we were important people in the city. We weren't leaders in the city. I imagine there's a level of law in the city. And what I wanted to do was, because we kept getting stared at by people, I wanted to goad someone into attacking me so that I could turn around and cut them down. Because I was a bad guy. You know what I mean? No, I mean, I wasn't like a horrible person, and there's plenty of room for that character to arc into being a better person. It's not my intention for the character, but there's plenty of room for it. The story could go anywhere. But session 1, I really wanted to goad someone into like, go ahead, rob me. See what it means. What were we called? Runners. See what it means to rob a runner. Please test my blade. I really wanted that moment, but that moment can only come about if your DM does allow you to be powerful and have a certain level of station where you're allowed to act like that in public. You know what I mean? I think I would get on with being a guard. Some story where I'm a guard. Whatever that means in a town. I think I would enjoy that. Even if you wrote it where I was a good guy, but like some low level shit. There's gangs in the city. Low level shit. And you know, I get into a situation where I'm allowed to cut down a guy in the street. Whether I'm a hero or a baddie, I'm allowed to do it because of my station. I think has been something that's played on my mind of like having a level of authority. You almost never get that in D&D or any TTRPG.
No.
Where you're an authority figure.
Not that No, I don't think I've ever seen it either. Like watching people play, they're always like the people from the outside.
Yeah. Dude, one of my Saturday games, like they're so obviously not from where they're from or where they are that I like whenever they meet a new person, they refer to them as Outlanders. Every single fucking time. Well, actually, funny enough, they refer to them either as Outlanders or they refer to them as Easterlings because the people in the East are strange to the people in the North. But that's it. It's not because they look like the people in the East. It's just that you look different. So you're either from not this realm at all, and you're just an outlander, a stranger from an unknown place. Or you're from the East, which is still a different land. Like either way, you're a foreigner, and people know it. So again, going back to what I was saying, I think there's a level of intrigue that I have of like playing an authority figure. Whether that is good or bad, you know, a town run by mobsters and I'm in the mob. And maybe I'm a bad guy. Maybe I cut people down in the streets like, you know, early Arthur Morgan because they owe my boss money. Or maybe I'm a city guard and I see someone rob someone and in this town, that's your hand. And in the streets, say goodbye to your hand, you know? Or maybe I'm even a hero. And there's someone that is otherwise being accosted, you know, armed robbery or something like that, and I get in a confrontation. But having a level of authority and a superior level of prowess, but neither of those things being the answer to whatever the story is. There still needing to be some, you know, RP style mystery. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I think that's the big thing that I've been thinking about wanting to play through. I remember when we were playing Realm Watchers, I kept writing characters that would do well in cities and then never got to play in a fucking city.
It's funny because all of my games were in cities. All but like 2.
Well, it was later in the game. I remember one of the characters that I wrote, I had just played the Black Cat, which is like a Telltale style game. Really cool. It's a noir, but it's all anthropomorphized folk.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I don't know, Chicago in the 50s, but you play as, you know, a top hat wearing, or not top hat, what kind of hats did they wear?
Fedora,
like a fedora. A fedora wearing coat, you know, long coat wearing Black Cat. And you're the private eye investigator. It's a great game. So I wrote a character just like that. It was like a panther tabaxi for Realm Watchers to go around just being this like noir style investigator. And it was like 4 or 5 games in a row that didn't take place in cities. And I was like, oh, maybe I just retire this character. Maybe I just don't have that as my backup character because I keep just getting to not play them. I think I went through like 3 Watchers in my other slot because we, for Realm Watchers, we had two Watchers at all time. I think I had like 3 other Watchers die while that was my backup, my secondary slot, and just never got to play them. I definitely like playing in cities more.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly. I like adventures out in the wilds, but I definitely like playing in cities more. Okay. Well, I think you have a good idea of what I'd be interested in. I have a good idea of what you'd be interested in.
The same shit.
What would we want to play together? And is the answer, considering our answers were relatively the same?
The same shit.
Maybe we don't need to do the third part of the conversation. I think as far as being more specific about it, I do like the idea of it being the same shit. I also like the idea of being established. I feel like I'm almost over the trope of starting anew. It's one thing that Daggerheart does, which we'll get into, is like a part of it. Daggerheart is it's so funny. It's the opposite of Realm Watchers. Remember Realm Watchers? We would all have people come to the city at different times, or to the investigation. Daggerhearts is the opposite. Daggerheart. I mean, you can do different things with this, and it teaches you how and whatnot. But just base Daggerheart, every class has specific questions that you ask to the other players that they answer. So it's like, what is something that only you know about me that nobody else at the table does? And it's a way of establishing a player party before starting. And I like that because honestly, I'm pretty tired of
players not knowing each other when they get into the game.
Yeah, starting a story.
Yeah, I kind of got around that myself just by making a story for my players and just handing it to them. And
yeah.
They don't complain, so.
No, and neither do we. And don't get me wrong, I'm fine with never playing that, and just always starting a new group.
Because if I don't give them a story as to why they know each other in this particular instance, and I tell them, okay, you guys, relatively know each other, you've been traveling for at least a week together, figure that out before we get the game together, and then we go and play the game, and it's like, oh, they didn't do any of that shit.
Yeah.
They don't know who anybody is. And even though they've talked about their characters with each other and to me.
Oh, no, if you want to start them together, you have to lead it.
Yeah.
You have to lead it. We had that with G&G.
Yeah.
We had that with G&G where like, we just, first of all, we made all of our characters together. That helps a lot. Second of all, we had those like glimpses into the past 10-minute sessions with each individual character, which really helped settle our characters and understand them. And then we just had literally just bullshitting as friends conversations about each other's characters. It really helped us establish caring about each other's characters. And I think it was the only game that I've played that from the get-go we all cared about each other's characters. Like, eventually everybody cares about each other's characters, but it takes a while. Also, if you have chaotic players, everybody wants to do that scene from every tabletop game, every streamed game, every actual play game that they see, the beginnings of the campaign where everybody just happenstance ends up in a bar together and then something goes down and this makes the player party. The thing that parties don't realize is like 100% a level of that is scripted. And all I mean by scripted, I don't mean the dialogue. I don't even mean scene by scene. I'm sure they're surprised at the things that happen to them in those actual plays. I mean, the DM went, hey, we're going to tell one by one stories that eventually lead you guys to a bar, and then something's going to go down that is the hook of our story and makes us a player party. That one sentence that I just strung together is what I mean by it's scripted. Because when you do that, everybody's looking for a reason why they're a player party now. You know what I mean? Like everybody has the same goals of like, hey, the hook before the hook is to become a party. If you don't tell your party that, or if they're not interested in that, and you're like, oh, you guys are all in a bar and something happens, you get weird shit where they're like, oh, I don't want to hang out with that guy. And they start spreading throughout the town. And then you're like, I don't know how to bring everybody back together. They just decided not to be a player party. I like the idea of starting off established. We did that in Nix's Tale. Me and you did runs together. We were like a little team.
Yeah, it just depends. Sometimes I like the idea of 4 random jagoffs who don't know who each other are coming together to do a thing. And then like somehow through that, they form this actual cohesive group of like everybody has a role and they know what they're doing.
I love it every time we do it in Delta Green. The thing I think I miss is Mission 2, Delta Green. I'm really excited about that. It's why I was trying to convince Nix of like, hey, I know there were things you liked and things you didn't disliked about your character. I know that your character had qualms about being a agent. What are you? Agent, right?
Mm-hmm.
About being an agent in the organization. But like, whatever happened between session or mission 1 and mission 2, use as an excuse of like how your character adapted into it. What did they lose, or what did they gain, or what did they realize to keep that player around? Because there is definitely room for growth for both characters to grow into being better agents. Like, I think the next time I guess the third time, because I snuck him into one of my games. I guess the next time you see Agent Upton, what was his name? Carl Wilson?
Yes.
The next time you see him after that shit that happened in our Delta Green game, like, I think he's going to be a lot less risky. A lot less risk taking. Probably still more risk taking than, a normal person is still part of who they are, but less so, I think. Because, like, he was horrified by the end of the last one, So, like, I would love to see not just a continuation of my character, but I would love to see a continuation of Nix's character and their partnership. Because that's like, every time we play Delta Green, we start this like buddy cop relationship, and then it's over in the beginnings of it. And we never get to come back to being buddy cops. We never get the Mel Gibson and I always mix up the Glubbers.
Daniel Glover.
Yeah. We never get that level of like invested in each other, of the like, playing off each other, and one of them's too old for it, blah, blah, blah. Like, we're always establishing a relationship. We're never an established relationship, which is something that I would like to see. I hope that Nix will bring that character back just for that aspect of it, because we don't get that too often, especially when we're doing system exploration. It's always something new in a new story. So like a continuation of characters in a buddy cop thing, I think would be really cool, personally. But yeah, I think relatively everything we talked about, and maybe we're already an established group. There's a degree where we are just describing Nix's buddy cop idea.
True.
Except that one's silly.
Yeah.
I almost want him to run it twice. Like,
do like a silly one, then a serious one.
Yeah, a silly one and a serious one. Put it in different eras. Like, one's high fantasy, one's low fantasy.
Well, the serious one just means that I can't be a kobold.
Yeah. That's mostly what changes. I love the idea that the kobold's going to be the straight guy. So funny. Okay. Yeah, anything else that you've been relatively interested in? Here's one thing I'll say that I've been interested in, talking about it from a different angle. I'd love to play in the Kids on Bikes. And I imagine I'll feel the same way about Daggerheart after I run it. I imagine you would like to play in Delta Green with one of us DMing. We have such different styles, and getting to see it from because you've only played it with one other DM, right? Or GM handler. Sorry, you've only played it with one other handler. I imagine you're interested in seeing how someone else would hold the system.
No, I played with 2 other handlers.
Oh, 2?
Yeah, one of my WoW friends and then some random person.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. What about how interested in? Well, first we'll stick with that one. How interested would you be in one of us running Delta? Is that something that like you'd be like, oh, that'd be really cool, or it's like, yeah, I'd play it.
Yeah, I'd play it.
How about 2E?
Yeah, I'd play it. I just like being a GM.
You're such a GM at heart.
I am the forever GM that everybody wishes they had.
It's funny that even in a conversation about trying to drag a player out of you, you're not into it. Like, all right, but if you could have your dream game, what would it be? I don't have one. I don't dream of this. That's not who I am. I'm the dungeon master. That's funny. Nothing else you've been thinking of from that light?
No. I mean, I know there are games that I want to run, but that's not necessarily being a player. So,
I don't mean like a years-long campaign. I think the only other thing that's floated around in my mind would be like some grand adventure, like a grand journey, specifically journey. So actually, the polar opposite. Mostly wilds, where like you kind of have an A to B. And obviously your character needs to be driven by the want to get to B, but getting to B isn't easy. And the reality is what the campaign is everything along the way to B.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, think of it from the perspective of Lord of the Rings is, leaving the Shire, Mount Doom. I know there was more things in between there. And I'd be fine if there wasn't in this because I don't want it. I don't want to play in a 2-year campaign. I actually like shorter stories so that we can move on to other stories. But, yeah, you have your Mount Doom. You have your B. How do you get there? Well, this path has this. This path has this. This path has this. You get to choose as the player. Every avenue is a choice of the player. And I would say a core concept that everybody at the table would need to understand is that every path is possible, but retreat needs to be in everybody's arsenal. Sometimes you come up against something and it is a possible path. But if you fuck it as players, you need to be able to pack up and 180 and then pick a different route. Kind of like not quite like the Lord of the Rings, but like when they're going over the mountain pass, that actually just wasn't an answer. I think it should be an answer. Those should be like challenge checks, where you figure out a way to get through it. But if you fail at a certain point, either you come to the realization that the DM turns to you and be like, you're not going to make it. And if you continue this way, someone's going to die. Or a harsher GM, just kill someone. And then at some point, the players realize, well, we lost Gandalf. Maybe we go back and pick a different route. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But a grand journey. I think a grand journey would be something I would be interested in as well. With pit stops in towns and whatnot. Important ones. But otherwise, an A to B where A and B don't really matter. It's just how to get to B and the adventure of getting to B that matters. I think I'm less interested in that than just continuously living in cities, like we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
But it is something else that I would be that. Especially that one of the characters that I told you about, the construct that's like enamored with life but can't create it. I think that fits within the character. Like so many more story beats would come up or RP moments would come up if we were in nature. Whereas like that character in a city doesn't matter. Like none of those things would hit very hard. You know what I mean? That character hits a lot harder when they are a fish out of water in the place they're enamored with.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, a grand journey. I'd be up for a grand journey. I don't know if that's really your thing. I can imagine Nick's being into a grand journey.
Probably.
Although I don't imagine you being into writing a grand jury. journey. I think like your style is so freeform typically.
Yeah, I don't think I can write one like that. Although, I mean, I could try. I would have to really
It'd be
some interest.
It'd be a step away from the norm. You'd have to genuinely like think about how you're going to write that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get you. Cool. All right. Well, let's pack this up, edit it, and send it to Nick so he could start writing us stories. No, but like I think this is an important conversation to have for our solo adventures,
Yeah.
so that we can soon, hopefully, on the channel for anybody that may be listening still, one of our series, U1 Plays, being a series away from Take the Damage, is where we talk about mechanics and whatnot. As we are designers, we think a lot about mechanics and system exploration, where we both explore it for our own sake in learning different systems, how they handle a genre, how they handle mechanics, how they handle blah, 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 blah. It's a learning experience for us that we also present as a learning experience to the audience. U1 Plays, just us fucking around and having fun with TTRPGs. And eventually, we talked about having solo adventures for instances where one of us is missing. So hopefully this conversation leads into some U1 Plays solos adventures, and we start that series up. Sweet. All right. Thank you for listening to Take the Damage podcast by Unfortunate Ones. Like, subscribe, hit bells, go to the links in our description, our individual links and projects and whatnot, and our Unfortunate One links as well for websites and whatever else. I don't even know what's down there at the moment. But, whatever's down there, go check it out. You tell me what's down there. You know what? Here's a call to action. Go to the description, see what's in there, and then comment down below and tell me, because I read your comments. I don't read our own descriptions. Also, just while we're doing call to actions for no reason, even though we've never done this type of bit before, comment. Tell me what kind of stories that you've been interested in as someone that may be stuck in doing whatever your GM wants. If you could genuinely dictate what your GM ran for you, what would it be?
You're also the worst kind of person for doing that.
I am?
I mean, if you want, hey, GM, can you run this kind of game for me? Can this game go in this different way? And then the DM should look at you and be like, sure. Sure. No, I'm just kidding.
Only if the game's already going. I think you're an asshole if the game's already going and you do that. I'd be fine with that.
I am kidding.
Honestly, also just to jump right back into the podcast, one last thing I would like to say is your opinion of like being a GM, a forever GM. One part of this conversation why I don't have a million answers for this, because I know a lot of people that really do, like, oh, I'd love to play this, or I'd love to play that. I really don't, because one of my biggest fascinations is jumping into a role or a world or any of those things. So, like, I typically would not write a character like, what was my character's name? Karik. I typically would not write a character like Karik, but I was like, we're playing runners. We rolled for it. I'm a criminal background. I'll make a little bit of a bad guy. Why not? I enjoy that. We've talked about your solo genuine full campaign, so this would be not quite what we're talking about today, of like, oh, you have like a story, a protagonist with a specific type of personality and build.
Specific type personality, background, everything.
And for me,
they got a history.
That is like as much as our concepts of like a city mystery where I have authority, or a grand journey where any path is possible but retreat is a necessary tool. I would equally put, DM, tell me everything about what I'm supposed to be doing here. Because for me, there's such a call to action and like attraction to jumping into a role and like not just playing myself or writing the same character a million times over. It was like genuinely.
Yeah, so you're not afraid of like playing a character that somebody else has written for you in a game.
No, I'm actually really into it. I love it. Please do. Write me an adventure and tell me exactly who I am. I kind of want to do that as an experiment with you and Nick. So I want to see how you would feel about that. I almost want to write you guys opposite characters of like what you would normally write, or write a character for you and then write a character for Nyx specifically that I think you would really well suit and fit into, and then switch to character sheets.
So I give up after a bad check.
Yeah. You get it. Poor Nyx. We're so mean to him. All right. Thank you for listening to Take the Damage podcast as we talk about what our interests would be as characters. Like, subscribe, hit bells, do nice things for us. We make YouTube videos for you, all 10 of you. And
If you sent this video to 10 of your friends.
No, you have to go like the old chain emails. If you don't send this video to 10 of your friends, then Bloody Mary's going to get you. That works. It works on people. Maybe that should be our target audience. We should just, like scammers, we should prey on old folks and be like, if you don't send this video to 10 people in your contacts list. No. Do share our videos though. All right, bye.